Time to bring the Buildings and Standards public hearing to order. Good afternoon and welcome to the City of Irving Buildings and Standards Commission meeting for July 23rd, 2024. We work from a prepared agenda. Due to the requirements of the Texas Open Meetings Act, all comments to and deliberation by the Commission must be strictly limited to matters posted on today's agenda. Anyone wishing to address the Commission should ask the moderator for permission to speak on their specified item number. All persons to speak must be sworn in. If you plan to present evidence in any case today, that evidence must remain with City staff and become part of the case master file. If you need a copy for your records, City staff will be happy to assist you with that need. We limit the time for citizen comments to 3 minutes. You may request more time at the end of 3 minutes. A decision will be made whether or not to grant you additional time. A Spanish translator is available if needed. Ms. Silva, Senior Administrative Assistant for the Code Enforcement Department. If anyone in the audience plans to speak, would you please stand as you are able and raise your right hand to be sworn in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you are about to present is true and correct? Thank you. Ms. Silva, do we have proper notification on all cases that are to be heard this afternoon?
The agenda for this meeting was posted in accordance with law at least 72 hours prior to this meeting as certified by the City Secretary's office. A notice of this hearing, as required by law, has been advertised in a newspaper of general circulation in the city at least 10 days prior to this hearing. A copy of the notice is included in the packets provided to the Commission. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Linda Silva, soy secretaria del Departamento de Código de la Ciudad de Irving, soy la traductora por esta tarde, estaré disponible por si alguien necesita ayuda. Gracias.
Thank you. Well, with that, we'll move into the public hearing part of the agenda. Our first item is to review the minutes from the April 23rd work session and public hearing. Do I hear any motions from the Commission to accept the minutes from our last meeting?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting.
We have a motion from Commissioner Metters. Do I hear a second?
And I second that motion.
And a second from Commissioner Smith. Got to get the commissioners to vote on this item. Those are the right of you I was referring to. Show 5. There we go. And motion passes unanimously. With that, we'll move on to the items for individual consideration. Mr. Demarest.
Dale Demarest, Code Enforcement Building Programs Coordinator, here to present Agenda Item 3, continued case BSCP 2304-0001, 415 West Pioneer Drive. This is a commercially zoned property that is substandard and unfit for human habitation. Staff received a scope of work on November 1st, 2023. That scope was specific to the exterior of the structure. On March 12th, 2024, the roof work began with a total replacement of the roof deck and the shingles. On March 21st, 2024, the roof work was completed. Staff contacted the owner shortly after to inquire about the next stage of remodel, which should be the siding and windows. The owner stated that the project will be on hold until he's able to close on a property in Fort Worth. As of July 16th, the structure remains in the same conditions as it was back in April. Siding and windows were supposed to be the next items to be fixed on the house, but as you can see, they remain in substandard condition. Electricity is still on at the property, but water account shows to be inactive. Even though the roof was replaced, it did not negate the violation of a floor or roof that has insufficient strength to be reasonably safe for the purpose for which the floor or roof is used, since the floors have not been replaced or repaired. October 2023 was the last interior photo we have of the structure. During the inspection, it was noted that the floors and the ceiling are in need of major repairs. Staff spoke with the owner on July 16th, and he stated that he is still waiting on the sale of another property before he'll make any further repairs. With that in mind, staff respectfully requests the commission adopt these findings and make the following orders. The owner failed to comply with the repair or demolish order by December 26, 2023, established by the October 24, 2023 hearing. The last day that any repairs were made on the structure was March 21, 2024. It has been 124 days since that day to this day, July 23, 2024. All 9 violations still exist at the property. Staff respectfully requests that the owner be ordered to pay civil penalties in the amount of $5 per each of the remaining 9 violations per day from March 22nd, 2024 through July 23rd, 2024, a total of 124 days for a total amount of $5,580 for failure to comply with the Commission's October 24th, 2023 order. This concludes my presentation at this time.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to item number 3? Hi, if you could state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. My name is Ryan McCumber. I'm here today on behalf of Discover Bank, pursuant to the order up here today. As Mr. Boyle, I guess, highlighted in his presentation in your work session, everyone in the property records that has some indication of a name was, I guess, ordered to be here today, and we're here in compliance with that order. We can't find that we have an ownership interest or lien in this property, and would be, of course, have no position on what the city would like to do with it, but would like to disclaim our interest, if any, in that property to avoid further invitations to come here before you, even though it is enjoyable. So if I could have an opportunity maybe to speak with council after the session and be happy to do that. Any questions for me?
Does anybody have any questions for our attorney who has nothing to say? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
If we could talk to him after the meeting and maybe get him off the invite if he doesn't have any vested interest in this property.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. I have a question for Mr. Actually, does anyone else wish to speak to item 3? I didn't see anybody want to stand up. Okay. I have a question for Mr. Demarest.
Yes.
The roof looked like it was fixed, right? Is it violation E, floor or roof that has insufficient strength or easily safe for the purpose in which the floor or roof is used? I assume that is there for the floor.
Correct.
It's for the floor, okay.
Yes, this is the floor or roof. So they did the roof part, but they have not touched the floor.
Okay, okay. And then an exterior wall, roof that has holes, cracks, I assume that's the exterior wall
Correct.
or floor, okay. That's what I was, the other question. While Mr. Demers is up here, do we have any other questions for him? Okay, with that, we'll close this matter to the floor. So, we had an order October 24th, 2023. That was 60 days. The 60th day was December 26, 2023. There was work on the roof done in March of this year, and the roof was fixed. So something has, in fact, been done. But no further work has been done, and apparently the owner is waiting to get the money from a different sale before working on this. So the order is assessing civil penalties, $5 for every day since March, and that's 124 days. The last day the work was done, which was March 22nd, and it's $5 per violation per day. I'm assuming this is a homestead property, which would be, means between $0 and $10. And that comes to $5,580. I think I have that just about right. Any comments from the commission this time? Okay, do I hear any motions from the commission?
I move to accept the order in full.
We have a motion from Commissioner Baker to accept the staff's recommended order in full. Do I hear a second?
I second that motion.
And a second from Commissioner Smith. All right, motion passes unanimously. On to item number 4.
Dale Demarest, Code Enforcement Building Programs Coordinator, here to present Agenda Item 4, continued case BSCP 2306-0001, 2820 West Rochelle Road. At the April 23, 2024 hearing, the Commission adopted the findings and placed deadlines for the property to be repaired or demolished by June 23, 2024. On July 3, 2024, the property deed was sold to a new owner. The day before that, on July 2nd, the new owner applied for a foundation repair permit. Foundation repair started immediately after the closing took place. On July 5th, a permit was issued for the replacement of the entire roof. By July 16th, the roof work was completed. On July 19th, an application was received for interior extra alteration and is in the process of being approved by the Permits Department. With that in mind, staff would respectfully request that the Commission order the owners to appear at the November 20th, 2024 hearing to provide an update to the Commission on the progress of the project. This concludes my presentation at this time.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in item number 4? All right, are there any questions from the commission at this time for Mr. Demarest?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Mr. Demarest.
Yes, sir.
Just curiosity about, it looks like we've got a very generous amount of time for appearing again. Our next meeting is in September. Do we not want them to come back before November?
It's possible they could come back if they're close, but with a project going the way it is, we just felt the need to give them, a couple months to do the job right, get it cleaned up, get it done, so that we're not up against a deadline to meet an agenda item in September, that we can clearly bring it back in November and close it down. They may close the case and have it moved in by the time we get to November, but at least the repairs won't be rushed, and that's why we're asking to go to November.
Are y'all feeling good that progress will continue to be made?
Oh, I'm feeling pretty confident. For somebody that starts a foundation the day after closing or the day of closing, I'm pretty confident they're trying to get this done in a quick manner.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, with that, we'll close this matter to the floor and begin deliberating. It's just an order to appear. So with that, do I hear any motions?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept the recommendation in full.
We have a motion from Commissioner Metters. Do I hear a second?
I second that motion.
And a second from Commissioner Smith. Motion passes unanimously. On to item 5.
Dale Demarest, Code Enforcement Building Programs Coordinator, here to present Agenda Item 5, continued case BSCP 1808-0003, 2333 Hillendale Drive. This property originally found substandard and unsecured in August of 2018. A fire occurred in January of 2019. The case history on this property is extensive. The sale of the property was scheduled to close on July 15th, 2024, but was halted by the buyer this time to allow for some documentation to be cleared up before final closing. At the same time, staff is waiting, at the same time, we are waiting as a staff for City Council to approve a standing demolition contract so that we can proceed forward with that process. As you look at the photos, you'll see the property has not been touched in 3 years and 8 months. There has been communication between staff and the owner, Mr. Nelson, in regard to keeping the grass mowed and getting information about the closing date. Due to the pending sale of the property, staff is trying to avoid any additional fees or costs to the property in the way of civil penalties or mowing liens. However, in the next 30 days, either the sale of the property will be completed or staff will be able to proceed with the demolition of this property. With that in mind, staff respectfully requests that the Commission order the owners to appear at the November 2024 hearing to update the Commission on the progress of the project. By November, the property will either be sold or remodeled or demolished by the city. This concludes my presentation at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Demarest. At this time, do we have any Any citizens who wish to speak on item number 5? Okay, I'll take that as a no. Do we have any questions at this time for Mr. Demarest?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Mr. Demarest.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
If no action is taken on the property and the 30 days is reached and the city determines to move forward with demolition, at what time or on what date will that demolition begin if no other action is taken?
I don't know an exact time or date. It'll depend on once we finalize the contract. Then it'll just be a matter of having that contractor go out, measure it off, provide us the total cost, and then we can proceed forward.
So at that time, if that scenario were to take place, by the time of the specified meeting here, we would expect that structure to be demolished if those other conditions or other things are not done?
If the city has to do it, yes. Yeah, we'll not continue after that hearing if the city has to take care of it from there.
And the sale would be expected to be completed prior to 30 days from now in order to halt, or remodeling.
That's what we keep hearing. I mean, this is one of those cases that the civil penalties have mounted so much on the property that there's just no more to get out of it. And so to avoid any changes to the sale actually going through, we're trying not to even mow the property right now. We're trying to get the owners to do that, take care of it, just so that we don't mess up the sale, because we've been at it so long as we have been. So we're hoping that in the next 30 days that sale will either take place or we'll take care of what we have to do.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so, there we go. All right, so if I'm getting the rundown, there's been a lot going on, but we have a fresh order from the 23rd of April, and that was for 30 days. So city would be within its right to go and demolish the structure now.
Correct. And the only reason that we haven't is because we were in the process of getting a standing demolition contract. So to avoid doing double work where we had to go out and send it out for bids and contract, we were just letting it go to the actual contractor that we're hiring for our standing demos. So does that make sense, or am I muddling the waters?
So you have an in-house demo crew?
Correct.
Okay,
But best I can say, it's just one contractor that we're going to be working with on all demos for a foreseeable time frame. And instead of trying to do those both simultaneously, we just figured we'd wait for this to take, because it should have been already done by now. It's just dragging a little bit.
okay, and now I think I read somewhere it said the 31st is when they're expecting to close? Or,
No, I don't know what the expectation date is now. It was the 15th. I keep hearing from them it could be any day. And saying, we're not getting just that information from the owner, we're also getting that information from the title company. So the
Okay.
title company is our main source of when closing happens. They've requested payoffs, they've done all that stuff, we had a date for that, but we didn't, then last minute, they're like, oh, buyer stopped a minute, he's got a problem with one of the documents, he wants it settled up, and so they're trying to settle that up right now.
okay, so once you found out about the sale, you're like, all right, we won't demolish anything.
No, it's not. The only thing keeping it from being demolished right now is getting a contractor in place.
Okay.
The same time frame for getting a contractor by sending it out for bid is the same time it would take to get the standing contract done. So
Okay.
we're just kind of waiting for that process to take its place. And then we'll, if it's not sold by that time, we will do what we need to do based upon your commission order.
Okay, so if it's sold before you can get around to it, you'll
Correct.
wait and talk to the new owner, and
We
this
will
will be,
as we do with all our cases, if a new owner comes on board, we always refer to them and find out what their timeline is. Because typically, we find the new owner does exactly what happened on Rochelle. They come in and they immediately go to fixing and repairing. So there's no
Okay.
point in wasting taxpayer money on demoing something that's going to be repaired.
okay, so we'll have, I assume maybe not definitiveness if the new owner needs time on November 20th.
Well, and that's the purpose of the November date, is to, once again, give time for if a new owner comes in the next little bit, give them time to get some actual work done on the property, so we're not just regurgitating the same things over and over again.
Yeah.
And, since we have that ability to go every other month, we felt we could kick it to November, and we'd be okay, since there's no really other action we can take on it at this time.
But by September, we would generally expect to know if this owner is either, we've got the new owner, or it's been demolished, or with that owner.
Correct. And if staff feels like it's going to be demolished and be down by September, we can always send a notice a hearing letter to all interested parties that we changed their hearing date from what you ordered
Okay.
today. We can always send them a new notice of hearing letter, possibly, or we'll just leave it to November and just take care of it
Okay.
then. No?
Just to clarify real
No
quick.
on that, so.
Yeah,
All right.
So no, we'll just come back in November. Even if we take it down before September, we'll just come back and close it in November.
All right, thank you. I don't have any further questions.
You're welcome.
All right. With that, we'll close this matter to the floor and begin our deliberations. The newer members won't have the knowledge of this case. Some of the more senior members do. I think this appeared in like 2019, maybe? It has been an appendage to our lives since then. But, yeah, 2019, I've a good memory. So with that, I think we can do what we're good with on this case, which is add another order to appear. There've been, I think, a few of those. With that, do I hear any motions from the commission?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept the staff recommendation in full.
We have a motion from Mr. Metters. Do I hear a second?
I second that
And a
motion.
second from Commissioner Smith. Motion passed unanimously. On to item 6.
Dale Demers, Code Enforcement Building Programs Coordinator, here to present agenda item number 6, continued case BSCP 2011-0004, 2203 West Irving Boulevard. This case was opened in November of 2020. At the April 2024 hearing, the commission continued the case to allow the new contractor to get the project on track and make significant progress. From April to June, the work on the property had been comprised of underground utility work and installation of vaults at the back of the property. During an on-site inspection in June, the contractor informed staff that another major complication had come up. The piers that had been installed by the previous contractor were not installed according to plan or to the correct depth, and they would all need to be removed at a significant cost to the owner. In addition to the piers, they also had to remove most of the underground plumbing that was installed due to improper slope. It was not until July 9th that removal of the piers had begun. They have also removed all form boards, bringing the property back to square one. On July 18th, 2024, staff received a revised scope and schedule from the contractor. The highlighted area represents the time frame from May 20, 2024 to July 22nd, 2024. During that time, there was no forward action taken on the property. Staff conducted an inspection on June 10th and noted that no progress was being made. The highlighted area simply shows that the removal of the piers and the removal of the underground and the recompaction of dirt after those steps. With that in mind, staff respectfully requests the commission adopt these findings and make the following orders. October 24, 2023, the commission issued civil penalties of $160 a day for failure to complete repairs by the July 25th, 2023 deadline. As of now, it has been 43 days since work has made forward progress on this property. Staff respectfully requests that the owner be ordered to pay civil penalties in the amount of $320 per day from June 11th, 2024 through July 23rd, 2024, a total of 43 days for a total amount of $13,760 for failure to comply with the Commission's April 25th, 2023 order. This concludes the presentation at this time.
Thank you. Do I hear anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to item number 6? Okay. Do we have any questions for Mr. Demarest from the commission?
Make a motion that we follow staff recommendation.
A little jumpy. We'll get to that one. So the matter's still technically open to the floor. I actually do have a question for Mr. Demarest. All right. So there's some issue with the piers. What day did they discover there's a problem with the piers? And then you said it wasn't until July 9th?
It was that June 10th date that I was on site for an inspection that I was informed of the piers.
Okay, so June 10th, they discovered the piers are bad. And then July 9th or so is when they went and they started work or they completed work?
Started work.
Started work on the piers, yeah, it's a pretty big undertaking to fix piers on that size. And you said that it's been 43 days, so they've been working on the piers.
Well, it's
since
43 days since forward progress has gone forward. Your last order was for them to make significant progress. You know, you continued the case for significant progress. There has been no forward progress. We're actually back to where we were before, I think, the January hearing, maybe. I mean, nothing's been done.
Okay. So they've made lateral progress. They had a pier issue. They did the
Right.
piers, it was wrong, now they're redoing the piers, so they're still on the piers.
Because they were one pier away from ready to start pouring, and that's when the contractor found out that the other contractor didn't put them into the depth required by the plans. So I was hoping he'd be here to comment more on that, but
Yeah, I would have been interested to hear from the owners and the contractor on this one. That would have been some insight to give.
So you also mentioned some problems with the utilities again?
it was the plumbing that the original contractor had put in for the new building. They had started doing some new plumbing and all that. And through the course of it sitting as long as it did with all the rainfall we had, it moved it up and down all around. So they had to rip it all out and start over. So
I remember at one time there was a problem with connection to city water or
yeah,
some
that was
sort
all
of-
part of that utility work on the back part of the property with the vaults and all that. They got all that done.
So that's all done?
That's where their forward progress ended, was once they got that done and they were going to put that pier in where those water lines used to be, they discovered the issue with the piers at that point.
Have you heard from the owners? They seem to be making some progress, just at snail's pace at this point. Did you hear besides the
I am
pier
not being
work?
contacted on a regular basis. All communication has been forethought by me. I've gone out on the property, ran into the contractor and spoke to him directly, and that's the only communication I've
Okay.
had.
All right, so they're not really apprising you of what their plans are. They have given you a rundown of that timeline. That was provided by them, or that's your timeline?
That was the only communication I had, was that email with the new scope of work.
Okay, so they gave you a scope of work, and they've, I
on
assume,
July.
not been actually following that scope of work?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, if you look at that scope, their next date of action is, I want to say the 29th.
It's the,
I know
needs
it's hard to
more
read, I'm sorry,
JPEG.
but yeah, I think the next action is next Monday. Yesterday, they were supposed to be out grading, and there was nobody on site yesterday grading according to the scope. It is in your packet. I believe it's a
Yeah,
page in your
Commissioners, I'll
packet.
direct you to page 270 of your packet.
Oh, that's better. So only what you've highlighted has been completed?
No, what I highlighted is just the date that corresponds with what we've discussed about
Okay.
the civil penalties, is that the highlighted portion is the time that there's been no action on the property as far as anything forward progressing to, a result of a completed building. In May of I gave them June 10th, because that's the last day I could stand up here and testify that I saw forward
Yeah.
progress. They have May 20th or something like that on theirs. So we were giving them the benefit of the doubt that there's something going on between that date and the day that we confirmed there was nothing going on.
Okay, so they have done all these things, inspect, expose existing site utilities, install a grease trap, backfill, you said they backfill the compact utility lines.
Yeah, so the 7-8, the demo piers previous GC installed. 7-16, re-access existing conditions. Grade and compact paving, which they weren't there yesterday doing. And then they're going to do fire lane paving, not until the 31st will they start paving the fire lane. So,
Okay. So I guess the claim is the city's asking for civil penalties because enough progress hasn't been made. The plans show they're making some progress. I guess, how do we determine if this is enough progress or not enough? I mean, yes, they haven't resolved the property, but it's,
Your last
a long
commission civil
undertaking.
penalty that you put on the property was based upon the fact that they did not resolve it by the deadline that you gave them. So when you assessed 160 last time, it was because they did not complete the project on time.
does anyone else have a question for Mr. Demarest?
I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead.
I was a construction superintendent for 35-plus years, and these guys are the Keystone Cops. We've been messing with this for about 3 years. It's time to fish or cut bait, I think.
Okay.
These guys are crazy.
Okay. I'm translating the idiom in my head.
I have a question for Mr. Demarest.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Have you had any insight into the relationship between the owner and the contractors? What's going on there?
Oh, I think that's fine. I think the new contractor he has is very smart, very intelligent. He knows what he's doing. He didn't look the other way when he found a problem with it. He informed him, made a plan of action. He did all that. But I also got a lot of excuses about when his crews were going to show up and stuff on site. And like I said, I really wish he was here to, to back that up. But, when I go out after June 10th, when he said they're going to pull piers, I talked to him on the phone 2 weeks later. I called him and said, when are you guys going to start? Oh, I'm waiting for my crews to show up. They're your crews. I don't understand. I didn't get it. So, but then once I saw him out there on July 9th, I'm like, okay, now we're moving with something. Not getting forward progress, but we're getting stuff out of the way to make time to do the next one. And then, 9 days later, we get the new scope and schedule and see that new piers aren't going to be installed until July 29th before they ever put piers in for the new building. So, very slow.
May I
You've
ask a
received
few
no further
questions?
communicate, oh, sorry. I was saying,
You can
go-
go. You
go
can go
right
ahead.
ahead.
You can go and finish your
you
line.
received no further communication from the owner as to what the cause of these delays might be, or from the general contractor?
No.
Okay, thank you.
How many different scopes and schedules has this property owner provided over the last 4 years?
I can't attest to anything other than the 2 that I've received.
Have they completed what they said they would in any of the timelines they originally proposed for themselves? Okay. Have they complied with the commission's orders up to this point at all?
No.
Okay. So the city's request at this point is for civil penalties for failure to comply with the commission's orders yet again.
When you say he hasn't complied with their scope, you mean completely or followed their scope of work? You mean completely, or, because it looks like they've partially
Well,
complied.
I mean, the reason that they submit a revised scope and schedule is because they're missing deadlines and they need to ask for new ones. Now, obviously, we have not brought the scope and schedule for you guys to approve. We've just brought it as a general understanding of what their plan is. So as far as, anytime I receive a revised scope and schedule, that's an automatic detail that they are missing deadlines that they proposed for themselves. We didn't write the scope and schedule, they did. And so if they're going to miss them, and then they're going to submit a document literally days before a hearing, we've seen this before. And so that's why we're at where we're at. Any other questions?
Okay, with that, we'll close this matter into the floor and begin our deliberations. So this goes to what Mr. Boyle was talking about earlier, is our goal is to get this property into compliance. That's the ultimate goal, and civil penalties are a nudge in that right direction. I think this is a bit different than most of our cases, which are generally, single-family dwellings. It's a large project, right? There's a former bank, a lot going on there. So I think that we need to consider, is the property not moving because the owners aren't properly incentivized to do it? Or is it a mammoth undertaking that throws curveballs at them? And that's kind of, I think, what the decision. So the contractor putting the piers in and doing it wrong, I mean, can't really fault the owner for that. I mean, I've had work done on my property and the guy laid the electrical line wrong and I had to redo it. it's expensive and it happens. So
I think these penalties would be an incentive.
I think that would be an incentive. I think they would be, but there's also, I don't know how much the piers cost them, but it's probably significantly more than that number. But I know a piers cost in my house, and it'd be about that. So I can't imagine what it'd be for a bank.
That's not really relevant, is it? Progress is what's relevant, and
It's
like I
true.
say, I've been here, this is my third year. It was one of the first cases we had when I got here. And it's, like I say, Keystone Cops.
Commissioner Welch, I think, does have a good point there. It has been there for a while. Any other comments from the commissioner? Go ahead, Mr. Baker.
I think that this comes down to how much good faith we have in the owner and the contractor. It appears that there has been progress, and I'm from an engineering background. I can understand the frustration when a work is not done properly by a contractor and it has to be redone. And that's not necessarily the fault of the owner.
Yeah.
Another thought that I had is this amount being assessed here, is there any sense that that would substantially impact the ability of the owner to complete further work?
Yeah,
Do we have
let's-
any knowledge of that at all? Or is that not in the scope of what we're considering?
Commissioners, that is something we take into account as we prepare the amount recommendations and the fact pattern that we look at there. Unfortunately, no one from this project has complied with the order to appear to speak to any of that, so I can't speak in specifics as to what their financial situation is or what has caused any of this. What I can tell you is that the recommendations we make regarding civil penalties are, they're graduated, and so we, obviously we never come in, or I would, do not commonly come in at the maximum amount the first time. We start out fairly low and reasonable, which we have done before on this project, and then now have escalated that some, but still well below the legal maximum that we could be recommending. And again, are trying to spur compliance and reinforce that the orders you issue are a serious matter and should be taken as such.
And I will say that failure to appear at this hearing on the part of the parties involved does not inspire confidence in those parties. So,
No, it does not. And it leaves us to just speculate as to what the issues are. I guess it's the breakdown. There's some percentage of this problem that is the fault of the owner, and some percentage that's just the fault of getting crews on places on time when they have other obligations, or they're doing the work wrong, or whether, every project that's ever been planned always seems to go long, and it's just, you can never really account for the unknown. So it's just, what's the culpability percentage, and then how much should that be assessed? You want to say something, Commissioner Metters?
I do. So the maximum penalty is $1,000 a day per violation, correct?
Yeah, that would be, it'd be up to 8,000 a day, because they have 8 violations.
And so the recommendation from staff is $40 a day per
Yeah.
violation.
So 4% of the max.
Right. And so, which seems like an awful lot of consideration of for this particular owner / contractor. I mean, I think we're on about the 4th contractor on this thing. So this guy has now taken it over and not showing up today when we've granted some relief in the past and not showing up again today to let us hear what's going on with this property. Just, how do we get the attention to get this to happen? I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Commissioner Metters. I think that is, I think it really sums it up. It's
If I
a
may,
nominal.
I have a quick queries.
You speaking? I'm sorry, alternates, you're not allowed to give any testimony. Correct? Yeah. Sorry about that. Like I was saying, what Commissioner Metters is saying, I think really sums it up. It is a kind of an insignificant amount in terms of the whole project. It's not insignificant, but it's, we do need enough to get their attention and understand that, we can't be having buildings sitting in the city for years and years and years in a substandard condition. So I think I would defer to the city's judgment on this case. All right. So with that, do I hear any motions from the commission?
I move to accept the staff's recommendation.
I second the motion.
And we have a recommendation from Commissioner Smith and a second from Commissioner Baker. Motion passes unanimously. We'll proceed to item 7.
Dale Demers, Code Enforcement Building Programs Coordinator, here to present Agenda Item 7, continued case BSCP 2306-0002, 2585 West Irving Boulevard, also known as 2701 West Irving Boulevard. The case was opened in June of 2023. This building is just one of many structures located on the parcel address of 2701 West Irving Boulevard. It's located on the south end of the parcel along Irving Boulevard. The commission ordered this building repaired or demolished by June 23rd, 2024. There's been no action at this property except for continued vandalism shown here at the electrical service entrance area. Asbestos testing was conducted yesterday by LCA Environmental at the request of the city in preparation for the building to be sent out for demolition bids. Staff will continue the demolition process and provide an update at the September hearing. With that in mind, staff respectfully requests that the commission order the owners to appear at the September 26th, 2024 hearing to update the commission on the progress of the project. Depending on the level of progress at the time, staff may recommend additional civil penalties to be assessed for failure to comply with the April 23rd, 2024 order to repair or demolish the structure. This ends my presentation at this time.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to item number 7? Okay. Do we have any questions for Mr. Demarest?
Mr. Demers, I think you said that you've already initiated the process to move forward with demolition, correct?
Correct.
And any ideas when that will happen?
Well, since it's commercial property, we're required to do asbestos abatement. So in order to send that out for bid, we needed a asbestos testing done, which was just conducted yesterday. We should have that report by Friday or no later than next Tuesday. And then once we receive that, it'll go out for bid, and that bid process on a project like this could take a month or two, depending on interdepartmental stuff between purchasing and attorney's offices and all that.
Okay.
But we hope to have some sort of better update for you at the September hearing and decide what we do then.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Question from Mr. Demarest. Are there any active businesses currently in this building?
In this building, no. This is a vacant building.
Vacant building. Is this, given the vandalism that we're seeing, is this building secured from public access, or is there a requirement that it be?
There is a requirement to be. We just had access yesterday, and more than likely next week I'll be ordering it to be secured again after we had to access the building. Prior to us going in yesterday, one door was open and accessible. And so we will work that as a securing measure from your previous order.
And does the securing of the site include fencing, or is that simply securing the building itself?
Simply securing the building in this case. We're able to probably have one door secured, and then the rest of the building will be secured at that point.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, with that, we'll close the matter to the floor and begin deliberations. Any comments from the commissioners this time? Any motions from the commissioners at this time?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept the city staff recommendation in full.
We have a motion from Commissioner Metters
I second that motion.
and a second from Commissioner Smith. Motion passed unanimously. On to item 8.
Item 8, continued case BSCP 2311-0001, 2501 O'Connor Ridge Boulevard. This is a commercial building with a 2-story parking garage. On July 31st, 2018, a section of the upper deck of the parking garage collapsed. Thankfully, nobody was injured. On July 15th, 2024, the ownership had their demolition contractor apply for a permit to remove the remaining portions of the parking garage and the walkway to the building. According to the owners, this will be done in 3 phases, with the walkway and piers being the last areas to be removed. That permit is ready to issue once inspections receives a letter of approval from the owner. Demolition of the garage should take about a month, but will be completed by the staff recommended order of 60 days that you'll receive today. Regarding the rest of the concerns for this property, we will be asking for a 60-day time frame to make repairs to all walls and retaining walls and general cleanup of the property. When the retaining walls are repaired, staircases like this one will need to be resecured and leveled. In addition to the retaining wall repairs, this transformer needs to be repaired. On July 15th, contractors were on site to remove the generator that was located in this area in the photo on the right. The main 3-story building does not show any damage from the expansive soils and has remained secure from entry since the case was opened. Once the parking garage has been removed and the retaining walls and other items are completed and the redevelopment process gets started, staff will be asking this commission to close the case and allow the owner to go through the process of zoning change and a redevelopment process to convert the property into condominiums or whatever they feel they want to do. Ordinarily, cases of this magnitude are not closed until the property is completely remodeled, remodeled and ready for use. However, the property of this size will take a considerable amount of time to complete the process of being constructed. With that in mind, staff requests that the commission adopt these findings and make the following orders. Allow city staff to make inspections no later than September 23rd, 2024 to complete the demolition of the garage structure, and if the structure on the property has not been completely repaired or completely demolished and the debris removed by September 23rd, 2024, the commission authorizes the city, its agents, and contractors to enter the property, demolish the garage structure, and remove all debris from the property on or after September 23rd, 2024. In addition, no later than September 23, 2024, to complete the repairs to the office building structure and the retaining walls. Put the owner notice on civil penalties of $1,000 a day for missed deadlines. This concludes my presentation at this time.
The city staff want to read in any notices into the order? Usually it's the Jan's department.
Oh, we did that at the last hearing.
Oh, okay. There it is.
You would expect those questions on your next new case, however.
All right.
I'm happy to address any of your questions.
Group with regard to this property. I don't think I have much more to say. I mean, we've been working with Mr. Diller and Mr. Demarest. We had met them out there last week. They met part of the crew that's going to be involved, and we also had the contractor there who's going to be involved in hopefully the repurposing of this property. With regard to the letter from ownership with permission to proceed with the demolition, I believe you may not have seen it yet, but I think it was provided by Mr. Delachica either yesterday or, yeah. So I think, so we've complied with that. I think we've complied with everything. We do have a letter from IBC Bank. Indicating financial ability by primarily ownership group, because you know this is abandoned property, no tenants, it's generated nothing but headaches. So, but with that said, I do have that available, and we'll submit it in the record if that's required. I think it was due yesterday, but we have it now, and so that's not an issue as well. They're the lender on the property, as well as one or more of the owners have banked there for many, many years. So financial wherewithal, directly or indirectly, is not a problem. And in fact, I think 1/3 of the cost of demolition has already been provided. So with that, we obviously are endeavoring to meet the deadlines and have this completed, subject to weather or any unforeseen circumstances, we certainly think within the next 2 months that, that this should be completed. And some of the other items, I think will be taken care of as part of the demolition procedure. If there's anything that requires any additional time, of course, we'll stay in touch with Mr. Demarest. Thank you.
All right, just one quick question while you're up here.
Yeah.
Just for certainty, you're saying that the potential order of September 23rd, meeting that date won't be a problem, and that's a fair amount of time for what you need to do.
I think we're hopeful. Obviously, with anything of this nature, we don't know. Again, with the amount of rain that we've all seen, that certainly could affect the schedule. But if there's no impediments or unexpected findings, then yes, we're certainly hopeful. And we want to get it done as quickly as possible so that we can move to the next phase.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Does anyone else have a question? Go ahead, Mr. Menders.
So you would not begin any repair work until after you finish demolition, correct?
The repair work, yes, that's correct.
Okay, so, and when do you expect demolition to be completed?
So we were hoping that 4 to 6 weeks from permitting.
So say permitting is in 2 weeks, that leaves you about 6 weeks to get the repairs done, or demolish it,
Right.
which is going to take, what, 4 weeks to get it demoed and
That's what we
hauled off?
anticipate, yes.
So now you've got 2 weeks to do the repairs. Is that reasonable amount of time?
I think it could be tight because, again, once the demolition is complete, we'll have a better understanding of what's the best way to complete the rest of the repairs. So, I mean, obviously, we'll endeavor to comply with whatever orders are here, but you are right that could be pushing it with regard to the additional repairs after demolition.
Thank you.
May I ask a question of this witness?
Go ahead.
My understanding is you guys have already filed for permit. You
Yes.
have provided all the information. I know they were waiting on the letter from the owner, which you said you've provided.
Yes.
A question for Dale. Given all of that, when would you expect a permit to be issued?
If they received it today, typically the permit department will release it today. If that's the only thing, because I spoke with the permit tech, and he said the only thing he was waiting on the letter, as soon as he got it, he was going to release the permit, so it could be already in the system waiting for payment, as far as I know right now.
Okay. I hope that answers the commission's question as well.
Any more questions for this witness? Okay, is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak to item 8? Okay, with that, we'll close this matter to the floor. Giving the rundown of the timings, I'm not sure if actually it can be completed in 60 days, because if it's 4 to 6 weeks to get one thing done and it's 4 weeks to demolish the property, that's 10 weeks. That's like 75 days. So I believe the testimony provided essentially accounts to a scope and schedule of the actions being taken. So that, I think that based on the testimony I've heard, it sounds more like this should be more like a 90-day order, because that's based on the timelines provided, how long it would take realistically. And as you mentioned, there is all kind of fun weather patterns we've been having recently, so.
I'll just make the comment that, given everything I've heard, it seems very reasonable to require the appearance in the November hearing because
Yeah.
of the amount of time required to do the demolition, account for extraneous unknowns, and to allow for the repair, because the repair isn't going to be able to be begun until the demolition is complete, because the demolition could affect items needing to be repaired. You can't assess that till the demolition is complete. I'm satisfied with the forward progress personally, and I'd be comfortable not requiring the appearance until the November hearing.
Thank you. Yes, I believe part of the motion was also in order to appear at November 20th. That was included with the city's order. It'd be cutting it pretty tight there, I think. If it was 60 days, that's pretty much our next meeting.
So Commissioner Dodd, I think the point at issue is the item 1, or the second number 1, I guess, on the last page of the order where it says no later than September 23rd, the office building structures and the retaining walls on the property be repaired such that the property is in compliance with Chapter 8. And just
Okay.
the timing there seems
Tight.
rather tight. And,
Okay.
I mean, I'd like to ask Mr. Demarest if he feels good about how you feel with working with this particular
I can honestly say, I think,
property owner and group.
yeah, as far as we're concerned, since it's not coming back till the November hearing because of the first deadline, I see no problem in us taking the deadline for repair to October 23rd and give them the 90-day like we would
Okay.
anywhere else. I don't think that's an issue unless I'm speaking out of turn with my rest of my city staff. You're good with that, comfortable with that? So we can change that to October 23rd fairly easy
Okay.
and give them that a little extra time.
Thank you, sir.
All right, well, I'll go ahead and craft a motion there. I move that we accept the staff's recommended, or an amended version of the staff's recommended order to include the habitation violations from page 550, sections 1, 2, and 3 from the top of page 551, but to amend the second number 1 to state no later than October 23rd, 2024, the office building structures and retaining walls on the property be repaired such that the property is in compliance with Chapter 8 of the City Code of Civil and Criminal Offenses, and keep the rest as is, with the order to appear November 20th.
I second.
And a second from Commissioner Baker. Motion passes unanimously. I hope city staff was writing that down. On to our last item.
Dale Demarest, Code Enforcement Building Programs Coordinator, here to present Agenda Item 9, new case BSCP 2403-0002, 1016 Compton Avenue. This is an occupied single-family dwelling that is substandard and unfit for human habitation. The case was opened on March of 2024. The overall condition of the house can be seen from the street. The red arrows show an example of damage by fire, explosion, wind, vandalism, or elements of nature, so there may be a danger to life, safety, or to the general health and welfare of a person. Throughout the exterior of the house, you will see siding and plywood in various levels of disarray. This is a non-supporting and closing outside wall or covering with 50% damage or deterioration. The front porch supports are leaning, representing walls or other vertical structural members which list lean or buckle in excess of 1/4 inch horizontal measurement for each 1 foot of vertical measurement. The roof of the structure has several points of deflection and deterioration, which represents a floor or roof that has insufficient strength to be reasonably safe for the purpose for which it is used, and to support the weight of emergency personnel and equipment as determined by the fire chief. The roof issues continue through to the soffits of the structure. The red arrows show a floor, exterior wall, or roof that has holes, cracks, loose, rotted, warped, or protruding boards that may injure a person. Staff was granted access by the tenant on July 12th, at which time we discovered interior walls or ceilings that have holes, cracks, loose plaster, defective materials, or structural deterioration may defeat the purpose of the wall or ceiling, or may fail to protect the occupants of the structure from danger of collapse or of fire, and parts that may fall and injure a person or property. We also found areas of the floor that represent a floor, exterior wall, or roof that has holes, cracks, loose, rotted, warped, or protruding boards that may injure a person. With this in mind, staff respectfully requests the commission adopt these findings and make the following orders. Allow city staff to make inspections no later than September 23rd, 2024 to complete the repairs of the structure. Put the owner on notice of civil penalties of $1,000 a day for missed deadlines, which will be determined at the November 2024 hearing. This concludes my presentation at this time.
Chairman, may I ask a few questions of this
Go
witness?
ahead.
Oh, I forgot.
Did the city conduct a due diligence search to identify and locate all owners, mortgagees, lien holders, and other interested persons for this property?
Yes.
Was a search conducted of the real property records of Dallas County, Dallas Central Appraisal District records, records of the Secretary of State for the state of Texas, assumed name records of Dallas County, tax, utility, and other records for the city of Irving?
Yes.
Was notice of this public hearing sent by certified mail, return receipt requested to all owners, mortgagees, and lien holders that you identified in the search, giving them at least 10 days advance notice of this hearing?
Yes.
Was a notice of this public hearing posted on the front door of the structure at least 10 days in advance of this hearing?
Yes.
Was notice of this public hearing published in a newspaper of general circulation in the city at least 10 days in advance of this hearing?
Yes.
Are documents included in the Commissioner's packet of materials which evidence the persons identified through the city's due diligence search for this property and the notification that was provided?
They are.
Is this property dilapidated?
It is.
Is it substandard?
It is.
Is it unfit for human habitation?
It is.
Is it a hazard to the public health, safety, and welfare?
Yes.
Does it constitute an urban nuisance?
It does.
What is the staff's recommendation on this case?
To repair the property by September 23rd, 2024.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And do we have anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to item number 9? Okay. Did we have any questions for Mr. Demarest? Actually, I'll start by just clarifying something for the record. This is a repair only order, not demolish, because there is somebody, I assume, a squatter living there, or does the person have a
No,
lease?
this is the occupant is a family member.
Okay.
Member of the family, not under lease agreement, not anything. They've been there for 10 years, and the family has just kind of let it be what it is.
Does this house have utilities,
It does.
electrical, sewage?
Hey, it's probably a septic based on the next door
Oh, okay.
house. The 1020 Compton was a septic system underneath it because of its age.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Demarest while he's up here?
It fits the category sorry, Mr. Davis. It fits the category of commercial property of so a penalty of $1,000 a day?
No, it's the difference between 1,000 or 10 is based on a homestead exemption.
Okay.
Because it's not the owner's homestead, it would qualify for $1,000 a day.
And have you heard from the owners or whoever has a vested interest in this property?
I spoke to the owner's niece, Miss Armstrong, who they are once again in process of selling the property and waiting for heirs to complete blood tests before the sale will go through. This is the same family that had 1020 Compton that you've seen before.
Okay, if there are no more questions, Mr. Demarest, we'll close this matter to the floor. Any comments from the commission? Any motions from the commission?
I move to accept the recommendations in full.
We have a motion from Commissioner Baker,
And I second that
and
motion.
a second from Commissioner Smith. Motion passes unanimously, and with that, we are adjourned.